All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Barrens Chat episode 22. This, of course, is the show all about World of Warcraft and everything to do with WoW lore, WoW story, sometimes WoW gameplay, although I don't dive too deep into the WoW gameplay stuff because, well, it's very subjective. Some people like it, some people hate it. I happen to be in the camp at the moment that actually kind of have fun in WoW. So, I realize that is a hot take, at least at the minute. But nevertheless, I really appreciate all of you for being here. Troubleshooter, how are you doing, good sir? Berries, how you doing? CFC, how you doing? Digit, how you doing? And of course, Drew, how are you? We're going to wait for people to filter in a little bit more before we just kick off the stream, because, last thing I want to do here is start the stream and then people completely miss half the show. I miss Sylvanas in the story. Up until now, I've not really missed Sylvanas. I've seen a couple of ways in which Sylvanas can definitely feature again, but I won't say I've missed her. I think as the story goes right now, I'm pretty happy with where the story is, mostly in WoW. Now she comes back in the next expansions. I'm doing better. Wisdom Tooth Extraction is finally healing nicely after a day or two of feeling fracked. Oh shit, bro. I'm happy to hear that you're feeling better. Last Gaming, how you doing, sir? Traxy, how you doing? I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for asking. I'm struggling to get back to WoW, but at the very least, the lore is as nice and exciting than ever before. Yeah, for me, as I was saying, I think the story at the moment is exactly how I want it. It ticks all of the boxes of what I would consider to be a well-told story. Now, if what you're looking for is a story that fits every single element of what you would do, then you're going to have to write that story yourself. Because no story is going to be able to do that. But the things that they have done thus far, I have enjoyed. I have enjoyed the direction that the story has gone in. Every single big moment felt very well deserved. Felt like nothing felt rushed, which you can't say for any of the previous expansions, especially not since Legion. Because almost all of the other stories had that element of the story would be unfolding quite nicely, and then suddenly it would just be like, wait, where the hell did this come from? Whereas there's nothing like that here. It feels like it's playing exactly the way that it should be, which I'm happy about. Venom is still in a build-up phase of the story, but it's good. CFC, yeah, of course, right? As I predicted, I think a lot of people aren't aware of how these types of stories go. A lot of people aren't aware that they're reading book 1 of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They think to themselves, or they're watching movie 1 of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. They think to themselves that this has to be the Lord of the Rings. This has to be the full, all 3 movies in one go. I think there's going to be a lot more build-up. I kind of hope, in a weird way, I kind of hope that Blizzard... How do I put this? I kind of hope that Blizzard continues on this trend. I think that the whole of the War Within has to be... Okay, this is going to be a very hot take, and I apologize sincerely for this. I know a lot of you are not going to agree with me. But if I am correct, and the War Within is movie 1 in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I really hope that Blizzard leans into that a lot more. I want to see the War Within be the setup expansion. I think we have some phenomenal storylines that's already been set up. We have the Xal'atath storyline that is slowly sort of starting to be unraveled and unfolding. We have the story of the Earthen that is there, and some things have been resolved, but there's still so many questions, especially considering that the Earthen themselves don't remember a lot of their own history, right? As a result of what happened, a lot of their own history is completely a mystery to them. You have the Skarden which seems like a very good element that Blizzard wants to bring in. You have the Haranier, that is literally just something that's been thrown out there. We saw one in-game cinematic for the Haranier, and then nothing else. Nothing else building on top of that. It doesn't feel like the Nerubian story is completely at an end. Yes, I know that the Queen is dead. Queen Ansurek is dead, but it does feel like there's still room for the Nerubian story to play a part. There's a massive story being set up with the Titan Keepers and the Titan Watchers that I think also deserves more build-up. There's the new Manifold Coreway Engines storyline that's unfolding with the disc quests that I think, you have a Hallowfall, which if you think about Hallowfall, we've really only started to scratch the surface of what Hallowfall could potentially be. You have the Arathi, which again only really scratched the surface of what they could be. So I genuinely think that from a storytelling perspective, there's so many pokes in the fire. Not to mention, I just this week during the live stream, I was talking about the decay forests that seem to be around, the mushroom people that seem to play a role. And if you guys remember, in Shadowlands we had mushrooms, in Dragonflight we had mushroom people, and now we have mushroom people again. So clearly there is a storyline that Blizzard is looking to explore at some point. So I really hope that the War Within delivers all of these potential storylines, right? So just these potential little foundational blocks. Is that going to piss a lot of people off? Yes, absolutely. Do I care that a lot of people are going to get pissed off by that? Absolutely not. Because I think if Blizzard continues down this road, by the time midnight comes around, you've laid out the foundation in such a way that you have so much. The Goblin story is another one, right? The Cobalt story is another one that definitely you can see maybe some more involved in there. I haven't even covered all of the storylines that potentially still exists in this world that's been laid out. And that's not to say anything about the sea, the unending ocean under the ocean that we now know has much more than what we think we see now, right? We know that this place is big, and we can't really traverse it, we can't really explore it, but we might be able to explore it in the future because we know that there's more going on there. The Kraken storyline that you got with the side quest that you did for the Peculiar Fish, all of these are potential storylines that Blizzard have set up, and I hope that the next few patches do the exact same thing, just lays groundwork. Sure, do small resolutions, but do sort of what you would call intermediate resolutions. In other words, it's not the finale, it's a step towards the finale. Because this gives you, in Midnight, the opportunity to really start springboarding into the crescendo, right? So the story is now starting to build, and you use Midnight as the middle. But so you think of the three expansions in World of Warcraft as as a book. So in a book, one of the stupidest sayings ever, but so apt, is that every good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And most people think, yeah, all right, cool, well done, Sherlock. But what most people fail to realize is, in that small little silly saying, every good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, lies the entire secret of writing a good story. A story needs to have a beginning. The beginning has to be believable, it has to be interesting, and it has to be gripping. Because if you lose your audience in the beginning, you're not getting your audience back in the middle, because they've already left. The middle is where the story now starts to build. You now set up the stakes. So in the beginning, you laid the foundation with potential stakes for the future. This allows the audience to sort of think, ooh, what could this mean? What could happen here? How could this be? In the middle bit, Midnight in other words, this is where you start really laying the stakes down. So now the audience gets really gripped. Oh shit, these are some big moments. There's big things coming here. And then in The Last Titan is where you see the crescendo. It's where the story reaches its peak and then you see a slow unwinding of that story. Now, of course, that leads into another question. What does the next saga look like? Is the next saga going to have the same kind of lock-in with the previous saga as we had with the expansions? Because remember, before the War Within, the way expansions worked were they were pretty much one-shots. For those of you that don't play D&D, in D&D, you have two types of games. You can have campaigns. Campaigns can last for many, many years. I know of one of my mods who knows of people who have had a campaign for the last 20 years. One campaign that's been around for 20 years. Every single week, they meet and they play this one campaign. And then you can have a thing called one-shots. One-shots tend to happen in 4 to 5 hours. People have pre-made characters and they sort of just one-shot. One-shots have a lot of fighting, very little lore and development, because the story has to be able to start, build, and end in 5 hours. Campaigns don't work that way. They're a lot more free in that regard. And in the past, Blizzard expansions have been one-shots, because everything has to start, build, and end in a single expansion, with very little being carried over between expansions. Yes, the lore would sort of always connect on a sort of on an almost loose way. The lore would connect, but the lore would not be intertwined, right? It wouldn't be the same story just carried over from expansion to expansion. It would be a great example of this is the Nightmare in Legion, right? In Legion, we have the Nightmare raid, we have Xavius and sort of elements of the overarching connection. That's a good word for it. SS. So the Nightmare is the element that gets carried over into Battle for Azeroth for that story to take off. But the most of Legion finishes in Legion. And then you, of course, have Odin and Helia's storyline that bridges sort of the Battle for Azeroth gap and then goes into Shadowlands. But this is how most 90% of Legion ends in Legion, with only some elements carrying over. Now, of course, in the War Within, it's 100% of what is established in the War Within will carry over into Midnight, will carry over into the Lost Titan. But now the big question becomes, if we pair all of these together and we say this is, so now we have the World Soul Saga with the 3 expansions into it, will the next saga connect to the previous saga in the same way that the 3 individual expansions connected to each other within the World Soul Saga? My hope is that they do. My hope is that we finally get a World of Warcraft where the story is a continuous road of storytelling. So after the World Soul Saga, we're not suddenly gonna, screw off to some Order realms or to the Void realms. We're going to stay within whichever scenarios Midnight sets up for us. Or if Midnight does indeed lead us into the realms of the Void, then that the next saga takes place within the realms of the Void. Do you understand what I mean? More connective tissue, less one-shotting. That's what I would like to see. I realize that that's going to be a massive... it's going to require a lot of adaptation from the general player base in World of Warcraft, because the general player is used to having big moments as quickly as possible so we can move on with the story. But I'm hopeful that what we get is a really cool story told in a really cool way. So yeah, I'm excited for the potential of this storyline and for the potential of where this storyline can actually go. Very quickly here, let me just say, Hobo Apple, how you doing? Michael, how you doing? Digit, how you doing, brother? Who did I miss? If I didn't say hello to you yet, please excuse me. Niara, how you doing? Dark Mephisto, how you doing? Let me just make sure that I've said hello to everyone. I think I've got everyone. If I haven't said hello to you yet, please just write something. Epic Thulu, how you doing, sir? Just write something so I can see your name, so I can say hello to you. I'm very happy to have you all here. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Elodie, how you doing, sir? Jack, how you doing, sir? Yeah, so I'm still sort of nameless. How you doing, Santiago? How you doing, Chassis? How you doing? I'm still waiting for everyone to sort of arrive, just so that we, when we start, it's not like I'm just falling with the door into the house. Although that is an Afrikaans saying, "Val met die deur in die huis in." I don't think that's an English saying, but it basically just means people arrive and you're in the middle of your story. Haronir and the Empire of Light are areas I want to explore. Yeah, you and me both. Lana, how you doing? Esprit, how you doing? Do you think there are elemental planes in the Twisting Nether? No. I think the Twisting Nether is an elemental plane, but I will give you... Trust me, I have a major theory that we're going to have to discuss. It will be the first theory that we discuss today. Because yeah, there's a big story that we have to discuss here. Did you look up the third part? I have, Elodie. I have. The Twisting Nether is the... No, Elodie, I only care about spoilers until the game goes live. The second the game goes live, I no longer give a shit about spoilers. Now I want the spoilers. Now I want to see everything the game has to offer. So yeah, I looked at it as soon as it came out. There's a couple of very interesting things there, but the most interesting things to me in the newest disc quests aren't actually Balador. I know this sounds crazy, but I don't think Balador is the most important reveal. The Manifold is a lot more important to me as a reveal and how it functions than Balador. Because Balador is whatever. Oh, so it's calcified version. It's calcified essences of Azeroth's spirit. Okay, cool. I don't care. The Manifold is like, whoa, what? Bruh. What are you saying? This is insane. Let's talk about this. Like, that's the thing I'm most interested in learning about. Indeed, what are they acclimating the world to? Questions. What do you think about patch 2.0 for Warcraft 3 Reforged? Could this mean something new for RTA's part of Warcraft? I don't know anything about patch 2.0. I saw that it briefly was updated to patch 2.0, but then apparently it was removed almost immediately after. I wonder what this next patch is going to be. Did Blizzard actually spend time fixing the cinematics, fixing the graphics, or is it more of basically just the same? I genuinely don't know. But I'm not entirely convinced that Blizzard wants to do a lot more Warcraft stuff. So the RTA stuff. I think the problem with the RTA stuff from Blizzard's perspective is still that RTA's games don't make billions of dollars. It is very difficult to monetize RTA's games unless you do mobile. And even then, you're not going to be able to do crossplay because PC players are not going to buy the RTA's bullshit that is on mobile. And I'm not sure if Blizzard cares about that at all. Damn. Oh, the Dark Lord, 20 months, part of the Legion Nation. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you. You're far too kind. What do you think about the next potential patch where we'll go to an island with a big crystal on it? It was a conversation between goblins in the 10.0.5 BTR. Interesting. Justin, how you doing? Maurice, I mean, the crystal that we're on, we're on a place now with a crystal, and we already know that there are more places with crystals. And we also know that the underground island, or the underground ocean, is mega vast. So, yeah, I can see that absolutely taking place. I definitely think that can happen. Aklon, what do you think will happen after the World Soul Saga? Alba Gaming, I have no idea, but if you ask me what I want to go to the Realms of the Void. I hope the story leads straight into the Realms of the Void, because I think that could be cool. I don't remember, but did the Blizz Survival get cancelled? Yes. So the Blizzard Survival game is dead. They announced that it's dead maybe like a year ago. Yeah, that's completely gone. You know what? I actually have an interesting theory. What if the Realm of Decay represents an old god so powerful that it is one thing? Whatever the fifth old god is also what the Realm of Decay resides in with. Yeah, I don't mind that, but I mean, from my perspective, I believe the old gods to be creatures of decay. I don't believe that the old gods are in fact creatures of the void. I think that they are creatures of decay that accepted the power of the void after being incapable of standing against the titans, or at least the titan threat. Now you might say, but Akalon, didn't they accept the void long before the titans arrived? There's no real evidence that is the case, right? What we have is the titans, and it could be that in the beginning they only used their decay powers. And the Titans defeated them pretty easily, and then they accepted the power of the void. The other thing could literally just be the fact that they can see the future, and they knew that their decay power would not be powerful enough to stop the Titans, and so they accepted the void power in the hope that would be powerful enough. But yeah, my immediate theory is that the old gods are not pure creatures of void, but rather decay creatures that accepted void. Might need to re-explain the manifold for everyone. Epithulu, I will definitely do so. I will definitely do so. The reason they do not make enough money is because these studios do not know how to make games without throwing all resources at it instead of keeping teams small for smaller games. Or me, it's not so much that. The reason most AAA studios like Blizzard aren't that interested in RTS games isn't because they don't know how to make money off of those games. They know how to make normal money off of those games. So if the requirement was for the game to make a couple of mil and then move on, they would do it. But for these large AAA studios, the goal is never to just make a couple of mil and then move on. The goal is to make billions of dollars off of the game. It has to be $1 billion a year game, or else it's an abject failure. And in that sense, there is no RTS that is going to earn $1 billion a year. It just won't happen. It's way too much of a niche audience, and also the only way you monetize an RTS game to the point where it can even come close to generating $1 billion a year is by very scumbag monetization. There's games like that, Ivory, I think it's called, or Ebony, or I don't know what the game. It's a mobile RTS game where the first few upgrades to your buildings are completely free. They just take a bit of time. But then after that, the buildings will take like 100 hours to upgrade. And the only way for you to speed that up is by actually dropping cash, because that's the only way to upgrade. Otherwise, you'll wait 100 hours and everyone else will just be way better than you. I don't know if that's changed since the last time I saw the game, but that's how it used to be. Mashula, how you doing? Thanks for the follow. Really appreciate you. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. They do not people hooked on cheap games. No, they would like to get you hooked on big budget games. Has this week's Disc Quest been discussed yet? Hoping for a reaction video. TC, how you doing, sir? It's not been discussed yet, but I've already seen the spoilers. I have not done this week's quest yet. I am 1 week behind everyone else because I took my time playing the game. I'm still taking my time playing the game. I still have side quests left that I haven't done because I'm going way too fucking slow. Partly because I get distracted and then I do... What did I do? Yesterday we just chatted, but the day before that, we did a bunch of delves and a bunch of world quests. And over the weekend, last weekend, I basically just got stuck in with delves. I'm actually enjoying delves. I know a lot of people are complaining about delves, but I'm actually enjoying them. How do you guys feel about delves, chat? What's your thoughts? Oniara, I saw that. Matumba, how you doing, sir? Jerome, yeah, I know there are certain problems with Delves, and I do think for people that are playing Delves a bit more competitively, there might be a lot of problems with Delves. But for someone like me, that literally, I just enjoy the little bit of challenge that it provides. It's not enough, really. I'm gonna be honest. I would have preferred if it was a bit more mage towery and not just sort of more gear, more better, more easier. But even then, I am still enjoying them. They're still a fun little experience for me. Because they're like dungeons, except I can do them solo. I must say, though, I think my favorite addition to this entire game has been companion dungeons. The NPC dungeons have been my favorite thing. Like, by far. I have loved the fact that I could literally just go into a dungeon with a bunch of NPCs, get the weekly out of the way, unless the weekly requires heroics and stuff, but get the weekly out of the way. And the other thing that I'm enjoying is they allow you to learn the dungeon before you go do it with other players, which is really fun. Because with other players, we just did for the first time ever, because I had to do the weekly, so 4 heroic dungeons, and we got that one in Hallowfall. You know, the one where you have to jump from ship to ship and shit? And you have to fly? The chat was laughing at me like crazy, because I did everything wrong. In the end, I wasn't even part of the group that finished the dungeon. I was flying around going, where the fuck am I supposed to go? I don't know where I'm going. And then just suddenly it popped up, the dungeon's done. I can relax now. So yeah, you know, because I haven't done that dungeon before. And so I think follower dungeons are a nice sort of lean in for new players to learn how to do dungeons. I did see someone suggest something, and I would like to get your opinion on this, chat. Someone said that Blizzard should make it to where if you interrupt, so if you hit the interrupt button, your interruptibility, within a couple of seconds of someone else hitting their interrupt on a boss or on a mob, your interrupt does not go on cooldown. So, in other words, let's say you and I are inside this dungeon. I'm on my warlock, you're on your warrior. The boss is casting, you on your warrior cast interrupt. Now I cast my interrupt. My interrupt doesn't count and also doesn't go on cooldown because the boss has already been interrupted. How do you guys feel about that? No idea how they'd code that. That would make Mythic Plus so much easier. That would be great. Would be great with the new casting in Mythic Plus. Yes, please. I would love to. I would love that change. Jack, why do you say no? I'm like, FD did it during a leveling few and then ignored all and quit the game. Pretty much retail is not anymore. Enjoy, but I love the lore, so I've been leeching it from you and Pyro. Hey, I'm happy to provide you the lore. Would be nice for pugs. I like that. Interrupt that way would be hell in PvP. For Aureus, they can do it different for PvP and for PvE, right? Mob, not necessarily. People will still have a normal group. So in normal raid groups and normal dungeon groups, people usually have like an interrupt rotation. And because you're hanging out on voice chat, it's pretty easy to know what is the interrupt rotation, and everyone is doing the interrupt rotation. I think the big problem that people have currently is there's so many things that have to be interrupted in Mythic Plus, and because if you interrupt and I interrupt at the same time, we're both now on cooldown. It happens quite often where no one has a cooldown to interrupt. And now the cost goes off, everyone dies, and we have to start again. So the idea here would be, it would probably remain the same for normal groups, but for pickup groups or for pugs, it would be sort of like a quality of life change, where people don't have their cooldown go off because nothing technically was interrupted. Issue is making too many cost mechanics in dungeons now. That is definitely an issue, but I think that's where Blizzard have sort of gotten stuck in. Casting mechanics is how they... And I just want to say, it wouldn't be too hard for Blizzard to code, actually. It would actually not be too hard for Blizzard to code. You want to know how Blizzard codes it? If your interrupt didn't interrupt anything, then it didn't interrupt, and therefore the ability does not go on cooldown. So the ability only triggers its cooldown if the interrupt actually interrupted something. Otherwise, it just doesn't trigger. And when you think about it, technically, that should not be too much of a breaking of the game. Yeah, I don't know how dispels work because I never dispel anyone because I'm not a healer. But if dispels already work that way, I don't see why that would be a problem. Heard we might be going to an island in Castlegar where on the other side of Balador is. That would be actually cool. Everyone would just spam interrupts without any thought behind it. You would still have problems there because a lot of interrupts do take... I don't know if people would just spam it, though. There's a 400 millisecond spell queue window that would still mess it up that way. But the spells work that way because you used to just be able to spam. I don't know. The thing is, if you make fewer interrupts, dungeons become easier. So you have to find another way to make dungeons harder. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that would be the challenge. If you have interrupts as soon as you use them go on cooldown, then you end in a position where pugs are sometimes hell. And from what I've heard from everyone, one of the big complaints for the War Within is the fact that it's hell. People hate pugs. Apparently now more than ever before. Yeah, I genuinely don't know, right? I don't know what the answer is. I just saw someone suggest that would be a good answer to the problem. And I thought, okay, I'll bring this up with you guys because, I mean, I think there's many of you that do way more dungeons than what I do. I would background my interrupt to something and ignore it if it didn't get CD for overlap. Katie, your problem with that, of course, would be there's a lot of things in dungeons that don't need to be interrupted. If you interrupt those things, your interrupt would still go on cooldown and you might still fuck up the rest of your group. And Blizzard could literally fight it just by doing more of that. So bosses and mobs will oftentimes have things that they cast that no one needs to interrupt because it won't wipe anyone. But then shortly after that cast, it costs the big boy. And if everyone has macros built in just to spam interrupts, then no one has the interrupt and you still die, right? So there are ways around that, just to be clear. Kaze, how you doing, bro? Just put it on global cooldown. You can't spam it unless you want 0 DPS. Aren't there already interrupts that's on global cooldown, or am I being crazy? Christos, how you doing? GCD, but you can use them while in GCD? Yeah, so you'd lose a lot of DPS if you literally just macroed it to, like, random spells. Because you'd constantly be triggering a GCD that won't cost anything else. Can you give me an example of a spell you don't interrupt or that harms you for doing so? There's many spells. For example, there's mobs in one of the dungeons I did yesterday or the day before, where the mobs just cost normal things. They are spell casters, so they cast spells. The spells won't kill the tank. The tank can absolutely tank the spells because that's their attack. They don't have any other attack. And the only reason I would oftentimes interrupt them is if they're standing away from the group and you're trying to force them to move into the group. But once they're in the group, interrupting their cast is absolutely useless. Because all you're doing is just they won't attack and then they'll just start casting it again. But then if you had in that mob pack, say for example, one mob that absolutely has a thing that must be interrupted or else it wipes the group, then suddenly you'd think twice about just macroing it to something, right? Because we were doing the dungeon in, is it Battle for Azeroth? The Battle for Azeroth dungeon in Borealis. That one has casters. Their casts are completely useless. You should not interrupt them. But you can interrupt them just to have people, have them move into the group so you can AoE them down. Do all healers have interrupt now? I notice my pally has it. I think almost all classes have interrupt now, Matumbo. I think. I'm not sure if there might be classes that don't, but I mean, warlocks have it. Everyone seems to have it now. Or many more have it than what was previously. But I think that might also be why they have so many interrupts now is because of so many classes that now have interrupts, right? Jerome, how you doing? Holy and Disc Priest can't kick. Okay, so Holy and Disc Priest don't have kicks, but then they have a bunch of other things. So I'm not sure how Blizzard does the divisions, how they decide what classes are allowed to do what things. Oftentimes it seems weird and awkward and doesn't make a whole lot of sense as to why they have it the way that they do. But it is what it is. I'm not going to complain because I don't do dungeons. So, whatever. There are also secondary interrupts, such as stun effects. Yeah. I think there's a lot of ways to deal with it. I just don't know. Do we have people in chat that do a lot of dungeons? Mythic Plus specifically. Can you guys tell me what is it that people are currently complaining about? Like the biggest complaint, because I see everyone complaining about Mythic Plus. People are hating Mythic Plus at the moment. What are those complaints about? And before you go, oh, it's just haters being haters. You have people like Towley complaining about it. When fucking Towley complains about WoW, you know that shit has gone very bad. Towley never complains about WoW. So when Towley tweets out that he's not having fun in World of Warcraft at the moment, something clearly happened. I do a lot. Organized groups are complaining about scaling past 11, 12. Pugs are a whole different thing. Now we got 53 goals from Mythic Plus run with 2k in repair and supply costs. Death timer, difficulty for the rewards, unrewarding shit, dungeons themselves, and overstacked mechanics. Unless you are doing 9 and 10, it's not that rewarding with valves now. It's harder than it's ever been. There's really no other way to put it. My only thing is too many people want to leave after one wipe. They hotfix some of it. If you stun or knock up casters, they immediately start casting again. This was not the case. Healers have to do too many things, I think. Pugging in Mythic Plus is really bad. 2 sides, 1 gearing progression is scuffed. 2 dungeons are really overtuned compared to normal season. Changes of CC are bad. Also, healing is hard as fuck and scaling is off from dungeons to dungeon. Yeah, RIO levers are a big thing. They made the dungeons require a lot more coordination, which is the antithesis of pugging. The antithesis of pugging. Most people pug, so most people are having a bad time. Yeah, I don't know. I think if there is one thing that is starting to take shape for me in World of Warcraft. And now many of you might disagree with me, and that's perfectly fine. But if there is one thing that is starting to take shape for me, it is that simpler is oftentimes better. At least that is the feeling I get. If you look, for example, at Classic WoW and why so many people love Classic WoW, there's nothing difficult in Classic WoW. But the simplicity makes it that you can have fun. You don't have to worry about, being overtly professional. You can just have fun with your friends. If you look at some of the best bosses in World of Warcraft, they weren't necessarily easy bosses, but they were relatively straightforward bosses. It was relatively simple to do the fight. Even though it wasn't easy, it was still simple. But then you look at the bosses that usually end up being the most hated bosses in World of Warcraft, and they're the bosses that require a boatload of coordination, because one person can wipe the group. So I'm thinking of things like Star Augur. Star Augur was known as the guild killer because, one person wipes the group. Mythic Kil'jaeden is another one where one person can wipe the group. The lady mistress something also in Kil'jaeden's raid, in the Tomb of Sargeras, the one with the waves. If you guys remember that one, another one of those where one person failing can literally kill the whole group. And Mistress is in that one. It's almost as if these bosses that are overly complex, while it makes sense on paper for these bosses to exist, people hate those bosses because you're replacing you're replacing fun with complexity. People can't be having fun because they have to be overly aware of all of the complex shit that goes into the fight. And I think there might be an argument to be made for Blizzard to go back to the drawing board and take another look, right? Are we actually making fights that's fun? Or are we just hunting for complexity for the sake of complexity? Hinks Video, thanks for the follow. Really appreciate you. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. DBM, it's a race, just like ad blockers in YouTube, because it's frustrating wiping when 24 people do what they're supposed to do, and one didn't, you lose. Sylvanas is another example. Yeah, those bosses are also not by themselves. If they were solo boss fights, the complexity would work. I think Mythic Dungeons would be interesting if they were 10-man groups, though. I know that's controversial. Ghostfire, I wouldn't mind more 10-man group things in World of Warcraft because I'm a huge fan of 10-man. I've always preferred 10-man raiding to 20-man raiding, just because the smaller, intimate group makes it feel a lot more impactful. But then I don't want to lose the 5-man content because there are people that genuinely love the 5-man content. But I do wonder if maybe there isn't a world in which simpler, still hard, you can still have it on. I'll give you guys a great example of my favorite fight in World of Warcraft. Let me ask this first. What was your favorite boss fight in World of Warcraft? Son of Valori, Denathrius, Midnight, Gul'dan. Alright, so a couple of the Denathrius ones. We have Thunder Emperor. Okay, so there's Razagath was fun. Okay. For me, it was the Lich King. For me, it was the Lich King. And the reason the Lich King on Heroic was fun was because it wasn't a complex fight. there was really nothing complex about the fight. For the most part, it was a single target fight. You had the ads. You killed off the ads with a debuff, so you needed literally one healer to just debuff, and then you needed a tank to know how to guide the debuff so that the debuff kills the ads and keeps stacking the ads. But if you did those things correctly, the fight was really easy, and then all you really required was good target selection. So people have to switch and kill the banshees as quickly as they spawn. That was it, really. The fight was super straightforward, and yet very difficult. Very, very difficult. Guilds struggled to get the Lich King down. But once you got the Lich King down, you felt good. It felt great. And you were having fun while you were doing it. Then you go to Ragnaros in Firelands, right? Literally the expansion later. The one expansion later. You go to Ragnaros in Firelands, and suddenly the fight becomes a lot more complex. And if anything, I will say Ragnaros was probably the first one to really go into, or was probably the start of the super complex bosses in World of Warcraft. The Dark Lord with 5 community subs. Really appreciate you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With some hearts in chat, ladies and gentlemen. You are very much appreciated. Yeah, it seems it's payday. So thank you for the money. But Ragnaros was really the start of this sort of new philosophy. Let's go complex. Let's make things complex. And I had far less fun in Ragnaros. Ragnaros on Mythic was not a fun fight. Because everyone has to focus on everything. And if anyone messes up at any point, basically start again, right? You needed very specific people for very specific jobs, like the knockups. If you didn't have a mage or a warlock or a hunter that knew what the hell they were doing, it would be a mess. So it was one of these fights where you just sort of constantly had to be online, right? Everyone has to be locked in. And once you're locked in, the banter and the jokes and the stuff kind of disappears. What I think the reason I stopped raiding all those years ago was one night during the fights, we were, as a guild, we were progressing on Agrimar Mythic. And during the fight on Agrimar Mythic, I remember saying to the group, all right, guys, enough of this bullshit. Stop talking. Just fucking focus now, please. Stop fucking talking. Stop joking around. Let's just focus. And it wasn't until like 2 months later that I was rewatching the stream, because I was streaming all of this, and because I was looking for footage for one of the videos, and I'm listening to myself berating my raiders. I was the GM, by the way. Berating my raiders for not focusing up and for joking around. And as I was listening, at this point, we had already killed Agrimar. We were now on, oh, fuck. Name, what's his name again? String Bean, thanks for the $5. Really appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Argus. We were on Argus Mythic. And I remember, while I was listening to myself, I went, isn't the point of the game to have fun? Why am I berating my raiders for joking around? We've been wiping on this boss for almost 2-3 weeks at this point. They're joking around because they know the fight. They know what they're supposed to do, but we're struggling to do it. They're joking around because they're trying to make this miserable experience a little bit more fun. And I'm over here telling them, stop fucking joking around because we keep wiping and I'm getting frustrated. And that was the moment that I realized, that I asked myself, when's the last time you actually had fun raiding in World of Warcraft? And when I asked myself that, I was like, probably Kata was the last time I actually had fun raiding in World of Warcraft. Since Cataclysm, raiding has been just a thing that you do because what else are you supposed to do? And when I realized that, I was like, oh, I'm done. I'm done, guys. I'm not raiding anymore. And I had the nice excuse. I was very busy with YouTube. My YouTube channel was just starting to take off, and I was putting a lot more effort into the game or into the videos. So I was like, guys, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm gonna go make YouTube videos because fuck raiding. And I was done. Right? I was done. That was it for me. So I wonder if Blizzard were to change their minds and maybe go back to being a little bit more focused on the fun element and less focused on the hardcore, let's get it done element, if people wouldn't have a lot more fun in the game. But one raid here can be super boring and long. Legion and BFA raids were fun. I'm not suggesting that there aren't raids that's fun. Please understand. I'm not saying that all people hate raiding because no one enjoys raids. No. I think there's many of you in chat that raid all the time because you really love it. It was just, for me, I didn't enjoy it, right? But that's just me. That's just my thing. Everyone else is going to have a very different takeaway, depending on, of course, what you like. Some people like raiding for gear. And so, obviously, you're going to love raiding as long as there's gear. I never really cared about gear. Matumba was in a guild with me. He was the DK way back in Legion, and even earlier than Legion in my guild. We had a couple of people in the guild that were obsessed with gear. We had one mage, particular son, who gear was everything for him, and then you had a bunch of people in the guild that was like me. Gear was just sort of, you needed enough gear to be able to do enough DPS to kill the boss, but that was it. Like, anything more than that is like, yeah, I'll get it when I get it. It's fine. So yeah, some people do it for gear, and they're obviously going to keep having fun. Other people do it for the challenge, and they're going to have fun. And then some people just do it for the fun, you know? I love raids. I don't like raiding because I have to deal with 10 plus people that don't enjoy life in general and do it just because they want the loot and have too much investment in the game to not think time is money, friend. Raids are too long and tiring. I don't like them in any game. After 1 hour of wiping, I lose all focus and become useless. That's fair. Because of the stress of raiding, LFR was a godsend for me. Niara got it right. All about the drip. Since gearing is done with catch-up welfare, I dropped caring to improve my character at all. I stopped caring to improve my character at all. I also think it's really hard to find like-minded people to play with. At least back then, we had Open Raid. It made so many friends on that side. What happened to Open Raid? Because I remember Open Raid being a thing. We used to use it to get pugs for our alt runs. What happened to that site? Did it just sort of go the way of the dodo bird because people just sort of gave up, or? I'm going to be honest with you. I thought Open Raid was a hell of a lot better than the in-game queuing thing. Because I remember we would literally set up our raid on Open Raid on like a Monday for the Friday. And then people could sign up and you could check everyone out and you could add people. So people knew well ahead of time this was the raid group. These were the people that's going to get into the raid. Melissa, how are you doing? I like raiding and group content, but I don't care for that hardcore mentality anymore. I just want to have fun, and I miss that sometimes. It feels like work, and I want to escape from work. True. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm not suggesting for 1 second that my experiences within World of Warcraft will be indicative of yours. Obviously not, right? Every single human being is going to have a very different experience when it comes to how they enjoy their games. And as long as you're having fun, I'm happy for you to have that fun. I'm just worried because I see so many people complaining about World of Warcraft at the moment, and it's people that I've never seen complain before. That bothers the shit out of me. You know, like when you see someone like Towley complaining, and And I saw someone, this is genuinely, I am speaking, I might be speaking out of my ass here. Not about the actual tweet. I did see the tweet. But I could have sworn that it was Towley that tweeted this. But again, I could be speaking out of my ass here. Because I saw the tweet and I thought that it was Towley saying it, but it could have been literally anyone who said it. But the tweet I saw was the person begging Riot to bring out their MMO because they cannot play World of Warcraft anymore. They're sick and tired of World of Warcraft. And I remember just reading this tweet and thinking, but I'm having so much fun in the War Within, but also mainly because I don't play as seriously as other people. Right? I play WoW maybe 3-4 days a week. The other days I play other games and I keep myself busy with real life stuff. So I don't know life World of Warcraft anymore, but it seems like a lot of people who are no lifing World of Warcraft, maybe it seems like they're the ones who's really not enjoying it at the moment. Almost as if World of Warcraft isn't really friendly to the no lifing anymore. Do you guys experience that, or do you think that's not entirely accurate? Well, Alcove, if you think about it, the reason he would have loved Shadowlands is because Shadowlands was very hardcore favorite, right? If you were a hardcore player, Shadowlands was great. If you were a mid-core player, Shadowlands sucked because you don't want to no-life the game. But I think that's maybe it. For people who like to no-life the game, the War Within just doesn't offer much to no-life. There's no grind. There's no reason to grind. You're a moron if you're grinding. What are you grinding for? And so the problem, I'm not saying you are a moron for doing it. I'm saying you feel like a moron when you sit there grinding because you could get everything you want without ever having to grind. And maybe that's it. Maybe Blizzard went too hard on the mid-core audience and they completely forgot about the hardcore audience, you know, the no-lifers, the people that do want to play World of Warcraft day and night as often and as much as possible. And there's not much for them because the whole game sort of now caters to the mid-core, the people that maybe play 3 to 6 hours a week and nothing else. Base thing in the War Within, to be honest, is eating all the gems I mine on my earth just the them being crunched. Yeah, you grind stuff that will become piss easy to obtain in the last patch. Well, the content that makes hardcore can't afford being broken on release. You can't serve 2 masters. See, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't necessarily think that there is such a thing as you can't serve 2 masters. Because, from my perspective, if there is one genre of game where you can absolutely cater to almost all players, it's MMOs. You can't in a single-player game. Single-player games are built for a specific type of player. So if I'm making a single-player game, a shooter, for example, Gelano, thank you so much for the sub. Really appreciate you. Welcome to the most degenerate chat on Twitch. Thank you. You're far too kind, sir. But if I'm making a shooter, right, a first-person shooter, I'm making that game very specifically for a first-person shooter audience. And I want to make sure that first-person shooter players really enjoy this game. At that point, the last thing I want to do is make a game for RPG fantasy enjoyers, because that's genuinely not the game they want to play, right? But in MMO, I feel like you have a lot more room to explore because your game isn't just the one thing. You know, your game has a lot more to offer than just the one thing. The Dark Lord, did you just gift another 5 subs? Dude, you are absolutely crazy. I really appreciate you. Can we get some hearts in chat, ladies and gentlemen? Hearts in chat. Thank you. You are far too kind, sir. Hello, we've added a third-person perspective so you can enjoy your skins. Z Vengeance, again, you're going to get people complaining, right? And I've seen the complaints from hardcore Halo fans. They're not happy with the third-person thing. But yeah, I feel like in MMO, you have the ability to cover and cater for everyone. The main problem that WoW runs into is gear is the same for everyone. The problem is that whenever I suggest that Blizzard should separate gear so that Mythic Plus gear is for Mythic Plus and it really doesn't do much in raids, and raid gear is for raids and it really doesn't do much for Mythic Plus, and Delve gear is for Delves and it really doesn't do much in Mythic Plus or raids, people immediately go, no, we don't want that. And I get why they don't want that. No one wants to spam. If you like doing Mythic Plus and you like doing raids and you like doing Delves, you don't want to spam all three of those and have to grind out the gear for that. And I respect that. The problem is, as long as gear is the same for everyone, you can't please everyone. Because you have to make the gear fun for the mid-core player base, whilst also trying to make the gear fun for the hardcore audience. But the hardcore audience tends to like grinding for their gear at least a little bit. The mid-core audience hates grinding for their gear even slightly. So you're sort of in this, well, if I make it grindy, the mid-core audience loses all interest. If I make it super easy, the hardcore audience loses all interest. I don't know what to do. Who do I make this for? Cool, but Zeroth Mortis is as far from cool as it can be. Who said Zeroth Mortis sounds cool? Able to run for a stump, plus last season, getting your dick slapped in a key you used to own easy peasy was an eye-opener. Low keys feel like the 10s they promised back when they reworked it. It's just a means to an end. The only point of gear is to flex with your shiny set of capital. Are you... what's happening here? Niara, are you one of those drip players that only care about what you look like? What if Azeroth is like the god of all cosmic forces? Maurice, we're going to get talking about this in a second, because there is a lot of things that I want to talk about this. You'll be surprised, Christers, how many people play World of Warcraft purely for the gear. They just love the gear. They love the power, they love the gear, they love the loot. It doesn't matter really what loot it is, as long as it's loot. That's really the only thing they give a fuck about. If they see those purple pixels, they get a semi. You'll be surprised how many people play literally like that. Just want to make sure I have the right videos here. When did I record the first one? Hold up, chat. Is it this one? No. This is cool. Sorry, guys. I'm just quickly checking here. I think this is... What are we seeing here? Yeah, this is the normal one. This is the second one. Hold up. Second disc waste. Where's the first one again? I recorded that one. When did I record that one? Got it. Okay. Plus the new channel when you burst through 3 topics in 20 minutes. Else fail timer. John Hunt, I kind of have a channel like that. I have the podcast channel with Rurikon called Mythic Banter, which is not 20 minutes, but we usually knock out about 9-10 news stories in about 2 hours. So if you care about the gaming news, but you can't be fucked watching individual videos every single day, that's the show for you. We cover all the gaming news in about 2 hours every single week on that one. Didn't know you had other channels, and I'm in Discord. I'm disappointed in myself. John Hunt, I don't promote my other channels in Discord. Discord is primarily for the WoW audience. The other channels are just things that I let go, you know. The more politics-focused channel, Akalon TV. I don't promote those videos anywhere, not on Twitter, not on Discord, nowhere. Those videos just sort of go out and they do what they do. And then, the Mythic Banter channel is a podcast channel, but I also don't promote that one. It just does what it does. What is Discord? I'm on YouTube. TC Discord link is there. You can just take that if you want to join the Discord. We need an Akalon After Dark Discord. Why, Elodie? I'm not sending you dick pics. I've said this before. No. You're a dude. It'd be weird. I'm not doing that. Discord is the gamer Skype chat thing, basically. True. Reminded me of the gaming with these politics channels. Saying feet pics. Then I'm not sending feet pics. This is not happening. How is feet pics less weird? By the way, I do want to say though, it feels like Gilano, it's weird for me because I'm not into dudes. It's not weird for two dudes that really want to see each other's peepees. That's fine. But I have had offers before in DMs from people really wanting. I guess there's some people with like a fat fetish or some shit. Just the Blythe feedback video that hints Earthen might be turning into flesh. I mean, is feet less weird? Oh, yeah, what I do think feet is not less weird. It just depends on your perspective. I will say though, there is some weird shit that I don't know what's going on with Blizzard. I could probably just quickly make this point. Let me just quickly. I do not know what's going on with Blizzard. Let me just see if I can find this post very quickly. Because something mega sus is going on at Blizzard. Like mega fucking sus, bro. Did Blizzard delete that? Surely no. Should we check Overwatch? Blizzard just released a new Overwatch video. And the video is literally just feet again. It's like super focused on feet or some shit. Oh yeah, this one. Like I'm just someone at Blizzard has a fetish. A big one. Someone at Blizzard has a massive thing for feet. And they are allowing that to push through in every single way. Look at all of the videos from fucking Xalatath. All of them show Xalatath's feet the whole time. And now you have this video, also just feet everywhere. And it's like, bro, how's about we calm down just a little bit on the feet? Is this really necessary? Didn't this happen after Mason returned? I don't know if Mason is the one behind this. I was going to say, Pyro's recent video was about feet too. I sent you that DoD directive we were talking about yesterday. It was passed September 27th. Whoa. Hold up. Let me just quickly. Oh. Okay, I'll check that out. I think it has become a meme and it's free marketing. Oh yeah, I mean, if it is just a meme, that's fine, but it could also be someone that's really horny for feet. There's always two sides to everything, but there's also usually not just one reason someone is doing it. Because the Xalatath stuff became a meme because everyone started to realize, dude, what the... Why is every single one of her cinematics feet pics? Like, what is this? Why is Blizzard playing like this the whole time. So yeah, that was just I think awkward for a lot of people, and now it just seems to be going even more. It seems to be a thing that they're playing into now. I don't mind it. They can do whatever the hell they want. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not something that I'm going to be railing against, but I do find it funny that they're doing it. We just wait. Where's the feet? Zal's a real barefoot Contessa. Thank you. Oh, Jingis. Thank you so much for the sub. Really appreciate that. Welcome to the most degenerate chat on Twitch. Thank you. You're far too kind. The Draenei is silly about the blacksmith removal was bad. What? Holy, I can tell you now, Rule 34 sites took a massive fucking beating after the first Xalatath cinematic came out. Because suddenly all of the foot fetish guys no longer needed Rule 34 sites. They were like, bro, I can just go on YouTube and see my favorite thing. Maybe they're tired of it now, but it did kick off for a bit. I miss the olden days where they just give a character cleavage to make people like them. Single Draenei seeking blacksmith with grinding wheel to take care of me and my gorgeous hooves. When was this? Hey, bro, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Since PC, bro, I don't remember this at all. But all right, if that is what happened, I'm willing to accept it. But okay. Ladies and gentlemen, are you guys ready for a wild theory? And I admit it's gonna be a little wild. It's gonna be a little strange. But let me start by showing you this. We're just gonna watch this together, and then we're gonna talk about it.
I speak for the machines.
The great Titan Khazgaroth, who granted me the gift of the Forge, has relayed information from the Pantheon about our purpose. To create order from the chaos of the cosmos, the Titans search the great dark beyond for the prime world soul.
I want to focus on this very quickly. See, when I watched this in-game cutscene for the first time, it's not really a cutscene, but you know what I mean. I almost spat out my coffee as I was listening to this. Because suddenly, almost everything snapped back into focus. I suddenly understood all of the lies, all of the deceit, and why the Titans had to do what they did, and exactly how things are playing out. So I want to very quickly give you guys a short rundown of the story of the Titans, how the Titans claim the story goes. The Titans claim that in the beginning there was the light, there was the void, and the light exploded outwards, and then all of the cosmological forces came into being, and they were born from world souls. So world souls settled, mass and material formed around them, and then suddenly they were born, and here we have all of our Titan friends. The book in the Shadowlands from the Brokers cast a little bit of doubt on this origin story, because the Brokers go a little bit deeper into their explanation of the origins of the universe. You see, the Brokers, with the help of the language of the first ones, derived at a place where, in the beginning, there were two forces. One of these two forces eventually became 2, then 3, then 5, then 6, and ultimately 7 forces. And they could never really figure out whether the 7th force was a fractal of the 6 or if the 6 actually came from the 7th force. So the one force that originally started all of them then became the 7th. And they say that the other force, so the 2 forces in the beginning, the other force remains outside the cycle. It's not part of the cycle. The Titans, if you start to merge these 2 stories, you say, okay, the brokers have one part of the story, the Titans have the other part of the story, but the Titans are then born inside the realm of the Dark Beyond, or the Great Dark Beyond, or what we would refer to as reality, since we know that all of the other cosmological forces exist outside of a veil of some kind. Now, this cinematic was mind-blowing because it reveals the lie of the Titans, but then also the fundamental truth of what is actually happening here. You see, the Titans are completely lying when they tell us that they are born from world souls. They are not. We know that Zeroth realms exist in each of the cosmological forces. We also know that the Titans have a very strict directive to the Titan Keepers that the mortals may not know about Zeroth Ordis, because the mortals will never actually be able to understand Zeroth Ordis. So allow me to paint for you an alternative history, one that I think explains everything. The 2 forces that the brokers talk about in the beginning, where they claim that after the one force became everything, including the first ones, the other force is outside the cycle. The other force is reality. So let's say Force Alpha is the one that the brokers claim created all of the cosmological forces and everything within it. Force Beta is what they claim is on the outside. But Force Beta, in my opinion, is reality. Force Beta is what created life. It's reality. Force Alpha then built these cosmological structures around reality. And what I'm not yet sure about is whether all of the first ones was in agreement with the building of 6 cosmological forces, or if instead the 6 cosmological forces were built by different first ones. In other words, the first ones themselves were, or whatever race, I don't think the first ones refer to themselves as first ones. It's what the brokers refer to them as, the first ones. In other words, the first ones to walk the realms, as it were. But they may have a different name. They may come from a different race of species, or a different species of being. And it might be that these beings were very divided. Some were more light-orientated, some were more void. It doesn't really matter, but keep that in mind, because that could be something, right? That could be something. What we do know is that the cosmological forces are at war with one another. But what if the Titans, in other words, the realms of order, struck first? They struck first, and they struck hard. The reason they could strike first is because of all the cosmological forces, they are the one tasked with order. So they were very quick to form a hierarchy and fall in line, which allowed them to very quickly, before any of the other forces could really organize themselves, the Titans already attacked. They completely subdued the realms of death. By the way, the Primus is a Titan, not an Eternal One. The Eternal Ones, the reason why the Eternal Ones, the Ardenweald Queen, for example, the Winter Queen, the reason the Winter Queen believes that she is the one that built Ardenweald, even though the Mushroom Guy tells us that Ardenweald was there long before the Winter Queen even arrived, is because she believes it. Her memory was wiped to just after the realms of death were ordered by the Titans. And they placed the Primus there as the guy that keeps all of them in line. The Titans then very quickly moved into life and conquered life and closed off life. Aeonor was plucked out of life, and her mind was wiped as well. Now, we know that mind wipe can happen with the domination magic. You can literally use domination magic to remove someone's memories, and I believe this is what happened. Amonthul and the Primus used domination magic. The Primus used domination magic on Carestia, the firstborn, and also on the Winter Queen, and also on Zuval, and also on Denathrius. This is why they believe this to be their purpose. They believe that this is what they're supposed to do. Zuval broke free, probably of some souls that he saw that revealed to him that the lies that he believes isn't true. This would explain why the Primus also looks very Titan-esque. If you look at the Primus, there's a Titan element to him that you don't see with Carestia the Firstborn, and you don't see with the Winter Queen, because they are not, as it were, Titans. They are eternal ones that were born inside the Zeroth Mortis realm. The Primus then, with the help of Amonthul, conquered the realms of death, and they placed the Primus there as being the guy that directs this, to make sure that they don't break the chains, so to speak. Aeonor was then captured from the realms of life, and Aeonor was also mind-controlled, because the Titans realized if they are going to be successful at conquering reality, they need life. But they don't want life unchecked, because life unchecked is a little bit dangerous. So no, they'll take one Titan from life, and they'll lock the rest inside life. They tried, or maybe did, conquer light. This is why the light has never shown up in full force, and why the light constantly has to use the Naru, because they've also been conquered. They tried to conquer the realms of chaos, but they were not fully successful. But I do believe that they captured Denathrius from the realms of disorder, and Denathrius was then moved into the Shadowlands because they did need some element of chaos. Again, in order to bring order, you need some semblance of balance. What gives this away? The Titans are in search for the prime world soul. But so is every other cosmological force in the universe. The Void Lords send out the old gods. For what? The prime world soul. The light sends out light crystals all throughout the universe. For what? The prime world soul. The demons are consistently conquering and capturing worlds. For what? The prime world soul. You see, after Force Alpha subdued and encircled Force Beta, the directive was that the cosmological forces are to try and twist these titanic beings to their will in the greater game. We already know that if you look at the cosmological map of World of Warcraft and you zoom out, there's something larger happening on the outside of our cosmological universe. It is very possible that each of these cosmological forces are looking for the biggest army. They're looking for soldiers to fight their greater war. Now, this would not be weird. There's plenty of fantasy universes that have many gods. So to us, these would be gods that's fighting each other, and it is possible that this is what they're trying to do. This is why they're looking for the prime world soul. This would also explain the building of the manifold. For those of you that don't know what the manifold is, the Titan Keepers admit their job was to build this giant network of forges and engines that encases the entirety of Azeroth's soul. Now, according to them, if you keep watching this
world soul, the most powerful in existence, they would guide to become the greatest Titan of all.
Why would this Titan, because remember, according to the Titans, they were all born this way, why would this Titan require guidance to become a Titan? Unless, of course, this Titan, if left to their own devices, would not become a Titan at all, but would really become something completely different.
In time, they came to sense a mighty presence within the world called Azeroth. The Pantheon made their way to the nascent world soul, hoping that their search was at an end.
Amazing. It's as though Keeper Arcadus was delivering the word of the great Khaz'goroth himself. These logs must be the architect's personal records of everything. I wonder how many more we can recover.
Ghostfire, they didn't switch. None of the Titans that you currently see following Aman'Thul are actual Titans. Aman'Thul and the Primus, and most likely a few others spread throughout the universe, are their own thing. The ones you currently see were abducted from their realms and then forced into servitude by Aman'Thul and the Primus. They serve at the behest of Aman'Thul and the Primus, and they can't do anything else, right? Because they're being actively dominated. Sargeras broke free because Sargeras saw the truth of what was actually transpiring and what was actually happening, and the same for Zuval. The question is just, what did they see? What is this? What happened that truly allowed them to break free and allowed them to turn their back on the purpose, as it were? Okay, so the manifold baffles me, because the Titans claim that the manifold was so that they could inspect Azeroth, that they could make sure that Azeroth was safe, and they could investigate, and they could study Azeroth's soul. But we know for a fact that the manifold does much more than that. Much, much, much more than that. And then, of course, they also tell us that the manifold was ripped apart by Sargeras, again, I think, on purpose. I think Sargeras did that on purpose, because Sargeras realized that the Titans were not trying to order the universe. The Titans were trying to gain ultimate victory. And ultimate victory means that every single one of the true world souls are twisted into order. Now, of course, we learn in this, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, we do learn that Baladar, the crystal, according to the Titans at least, is a calcified essence of Azeroth. I don't think that's true. I don't think it is a calcified essence of Azeroth. There's just so many things that don't make sense about that. But I think from the Titans' perspective, it's a lie that was worth telling. It is a lie that was worth telling. What it is, I'm not yet entirely sure. Maybe the next this quest gives us a bit of insight into what Baladar or what Baladar actually does. The fact that Baladar can shift from light to void as easily as it does, if it is a calcified version or a calcified piece or essence of Azeroth's soul, this has some profound implications on what Azeroth actually is, if indeed it is Azeroth. The reason I find it very difficult to believe that this is, in fact, Azeroth is, why would the world soul require these calcified versions of her essence? What would possibly be the need for it? And why would it stick out of the roof of an inside piece of Azeroth? Because it looks as if either this essence was trying to get out, or the essence was trying to get in. Now, if this is the essence of Azeroth, is it possible that Azeroth was trying to get out? She was trying to break the manifold from within. That's why these crystals exist. When Azeroth realized what the Titans were doing to her, they were imprisoning her, effectively. The Titan, or Azeroth, was trying to basically explode the manifold. That could have some profound implications. I have to think about that a little bit more, because that's interesting. What do you guys think? She shot out her memories so we could see them and access them. We just uncalcified chunks of light, what the Titans say Norus are. To some extent, yeah. To the Titans, light created order, life on Azeroth. Perhaps Titans accept the light of Azeroth, but not her shadow. So what does keep safe mean to a Titan? I have no idea. Have you seen the art from the official Blizzard artists that say that it's a Naru crystal? I have not, Jarrett. What art is that? Primus can't be a Titan because we saw his prototype in Zeroth Mortis Raid. Bazico, just because you saw his prototype doesn't mean jack. Because I'm willing to bet Amanthul has prototypes inside Zeroth Orders as well. Because Amanthul and the Primus are not beings that were born inside World Souls. They are not World Souls. They were never World Souls. But they are the only beings originally from Order. They and whoever else is spread throughout the universe, keeping everyone else in check. That's the thing. Yeah, they're like the Amanthul is an avatar of I'm going to show you guys something that's going to blow your fucking minds. Some of you have seen this because I can't remember if we discussed this on Barrens Chat or if it was in a normal stream. But this is going to blow your minds. Did she already make that video? I don't think so. It's this one. Okay. If I were to guess, this is the avatar of Sargeras. Who does that look like? This video will be coming out in the next few days, by the way. I'm just waiting for a thumbnail. This is Sargeras' avatar on Azeroth. Kissy, how you doing? This is Zuval. This is Zuval. This is literally Zuval, or Zuval with horns and sort of broken skin. But you look at that face, and that is Zuval. He has the characteristics of Illidan, the horns and the wings, but the face is Zuval. And that is because they all come from the same place. They're not originals, but they were subjugated by Amanthul and the Primus. most likely with the use of order magic or domination magic. It's interesting because Zuval clearly wanted the Primus over everyone else. The Primus was his main focus. No. Azeroth. No. Azeroth is not a robot. Azeroth is a true Titan, if we're going to use that word. The Titans claim that they are Titans because they are born inside worlds as world souls, but they are not world souls. They come from outside the cycle. They're not part of reality. Azeroth is part of reality, so she's very different. She's evolved very much in him, but I think it's just Activision cutting corners on the model or last ditch attempt to change the model after Pyroman's model leak video. Kyle, I don't think so. I think Blizzard was thinking about this already right back then. But I do think when they were coming up with the models for Zuval, they looked at this and they thought, wait, this would be an interesting storyline. Let's make him look exactly like this. I don't think they would cut corners on something like that. They'd cut corners on small things, but not on something this big. Strauss, the whole Azeroth dreams us into reality. The only problem I would have there is it would be Blizzard breaking the trend of borrowing from other fantasy universes. Blizzard always borrows from fantasy universes, that is true, but they usually do it legally distinct, right? So they'll borrow, but they'll change significantly. If they do Azeroth Dreams reality, then it's literally Azathoth from the H.P. Lovecraft universe. It's literally the same thing, because Azathoth Dreams reality. And I don't think they would do that, because at that point you're not just borrowing, you're just straight up taking. SSMC, it's actually not taken from Elder Scrolls, it's taken from H.P. Lovecraft. So if Elder Scrolls has that, then that comes from Lovecraft. Because in the Lovecraftian universe, Azathoth is the blind idiot god that sleeps at the center of the galaxy, and he dreams reality. Well, I say he. They don't really have genders. They just sort of exist as things. Got to separate the Lovecraft rigidity in this mythos, inspiration. Yeah, maybe it is the same with a twist to be more positive than negative. I do think Azeroth is a negative force. That's true. If that's the case, Azeroth would be an old god. Not necessarily. Well, yeah, if that is the case, Azeroth would be an old god. But I don't think that's what Blizzard did here. I think they just thought Azathoth is a really good name, but to keep it legally distinct, Azeroth made a lot of sense. And that's what they ultimately went for. Just to be clear, this isn't special. H.P. Lovecraft is a massive influence on pretty much all fans. There are three. There are three main fantasy writers that are almost used and utilized in every single modern day fantasy game and story. That is Tolkien, that is H.P. Lovecraft, and that is the writer of Conan, the Barbarian. I can't remember his fucking name. But those three writers are basically behind the vast majority of all elements in fantasy. Like anything that exists in fantasy games today, you can go look at their special universes and go, this comes from Conan. Oh, wait, actually, this comes from Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. This comes from H.P. Lovecraft. Almost all of them. They make changes. They give different names. They change the elements of it. But the rules and the overarching narratives, it all comes from there. because those three authors in their own rights basically covered everything that you could possibly do in fantasy. So they're phenomenal writers in their own right, but Robert E. Howard. Well, there you go. Boldon Sound, how you doing, sir? Jared, how you doing? I sent the Art Station map to you on Discord DM. Jared, thank you. I appreciate that. I have you. Oh, Perpetrator, you changed your name. So this is from the original. This was what it originally looked like, at least in concept. See, so originally it was a Naru crystal. It's interesting that they have. So if we look at this, so now we have the Titan's official story that the crystal is actually essence from Azeroth. But originally, the plan was to have the Naru crystal, or have the crystal be Naru. I want to be clear, I don't believe that that's wrong. I actually do think that that's right. I think this is a Naru crystal. I don't think that this is an Azeroth crystal, and there's a reason for it. There has never been any evidence anywhere in World of Warcraft that Azeroth is of the light. None. So why would Azeroth's essence be light? I think Naru makes a lot more sense because of the fact that it's light, and it also jives with what we know of the Naru, and that is that Naru can switch to Void with outside interference. So when mortals interfere, Naru can start switching to Void. In this instance, we had Sargeras interfering, and now the Naru is pulsing Void and Light. This, again, makes sense, right? Yeah, if you look at the Well of Eternity, the Well of Eternity wasn't burning with light. It was arcane. It's an arcanic, almost spirit magic that exists within the Well of Eternity, right? So the idea that she would be light doesn't make sense to me. I like the fact that they show the max light reach distance here, because this suggests that outside of that, it is pitch dark, like pitch black night outside of that max light reach distance. And the fact that this was already included in the concept art suggests that Blizzard wants to play around with this. We are most likely eventually going to venture out of that max light reach distance. And remember what the Kraken told us. Don't bring your light to the depths. We don't want the light in the depths. So there's a lot of darkness out there, and we're probably going to have to brave it. Oh, damn. Balthazar, 14 months part of the DJ Nation. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Titan Sage, she ate it all. But I hope we get more undersea stuff. The idea of a massive ocean under the world is spooky. It really is, Gelano. I think... I hate that I'm saying this. I really hate myself for saying this. But I think I'm willing to see Blizzard take another stab at underwater combat. I think I'm ready. Vashir sucked. But it was a novel idea. It was an interesting idea, but it sucked in like the combat just really sucked. But maybe Blizzard can get it right this time. And I think that could be awesome. Like a full-blown under the water zone I don't know. Maybe I'm being weird or wild, but I think that could be super cool. Couple of DAOs that suggest they are still not ready. Yeah, but Elodie, we might be getting there. The fact that there are DAOs that's already sort of playing around with it suggests that Blizzard is on the way there. That they are trying to figure out exactly. It's like, for example, we spoke about this 2 days ago on Twitch. If you go and you look at mounted combat in this expansion, it's clear that Blizzard is taking baby steps towards full-blown mounted combat. The instances where they're trying to make mounts and riding part of the combat, the instances where they're trying to figure out what is the right way to do mounted combat suggest that this is something Blizzard really wants to try and do. Whether they're full-blown ready, that's debatable. Because it's not a lot of the mounted combat is super fun. Although I will say the dungeon in Hallowfall is actually very unique in terms of the experience that I had in there. The concept of having to mount up and fly away and then come back. That was a unique experience. And I think we are going to see more of that in the future. And with the delves, the underwater stuff, I think Blizzard might be using all of this as some small little baby steps to the larger goal, which would be a full-blown underwater zone. When Akalon was proven right about the Titans, how's that? Still never been to Vashir, as I'm scared of underwater. Oh, Senroth. I don't know if Vashir gives you enough of an underwater feel that it will trigger some kind of phobia. If you have, I don't know what the phobia is called, but I do know there is a phobia, like an underwater people that really feel crazy. But one of the ways in which they solve it is you can actually run on the ocean floor, and you sort of run normally. Well, not normally, you sort of bounce as if you're running in space, kind of thing. So that might actually help. Thalassophobia, that's the one. No, hydrophobia would be a fear of water, right? That would just be a fear of water, and people wrongfully believe that people with rabies or rabies causes hydrophobia, when it really doesn't. It just, you're incapable of swallowing, and that's why they go crazy when they see stuff like water, because it triggers they're thirsty, but they can't swallow, and so that's why it looks as if they're afraid of water. But yeah, that would just be fear of water. It's a requirement to think in 3D that cause player problems. Same with flying mount combat in the Malagos fight. Well, we spoke about this 2 days ago. Imagine the Malagos fight with dragon riding rather than the shitty dragons we had during that fight, and with a proper combat system. Like a proper mounted combat system with the Malagos fight. I think that fight would have been a lot more fun for people if the flying was better. Because remember, old flying was literally just swimming in the air. So you would basically just hover there and shoot at Malagos. Whereas now you'd actually have to move around and gain speed and go up and down. Could be a lot more fun, a lot more interactive, and a lot more engaging. So yeah, I think it could be super cool. And Niora, no. I hope you're not talking about me. I am a huge Subnautica fan as long as I don't have to play or watch it. I love the concept of Subnautica. Let's go. I will never play that game. It's too scary. I got to the first bit where you have to go through those giant worm things to get to the ship that crashed. And that's where I stopped playing. I was like, yeah, that's not for me. Fuck this big giant fish thing that's behind me, and I'm stressed because there's a giant fish thing behind me that wants to kill me. I hated that. And I'm also a bit afraid of the ocean. Just gonna put that out there. I don't like the ocean. The ocean is scary to me. So, yeah, it's just like the ocean makes scary shit more scary. So I'm not a huge fan of that. Have you guys ever seen the movie? Is it called Underwater? The chick from Sparkly Vampires was in it. Is it called The Abyss? Yeah, that movie freaked me out. It's not the greatest movie in the world, just to be clear. It's not the greatest movie in the world. The acting is mega fucking like sus. But the concept is nice. It's like an H.P. Lovecraft story. If you like H.P. Lovecraft, you'll kind of enjoy this one. You will kind of enjoy it. Kind of have to look past some of the acting. Some of the actors are brilliant. The chick from Sparkly Vampires is not so good. But overall, it's a solid watch if you like H.P. Lovecraft stuff. Strauss, you're not alone. I've spoken to so many people that absolutely despise normal or the dynamic flight. The Avengers, yeah, it's the one with Cthulhu. It is that one, yes. So what are your thoughts on my theory about the Manifold and the Prime World Souls? Do you think I'm just the high as fuck right now and it's completely crazy, or do you guys think there might be some truth to it? So are people that go cave exploring or diving as well dumb? Yep. Dude, you will never be able to convince me otherwise. I'll tell you a quick story. I've heard enough horror stories about people who go cave diving to know that I will never do cave diving. So there's a cave somewhere in the world. I don't know where it is, but you basically have to go down, and then at some point you have to start going like this. So you go down, and then you have to go like this, and then you go up the other side. So it's sort of like, you know. And there's a lady who did it. She went down, she went in, and they've never found her. She's gone. They don't know where she is. So they think she may have taken a weird turn while she was like this. While she was in the horizontal position, she may have turned, and she may have went into one of the smaller cave entrances. And once you're inside those cave entrances, there's almost no going back because they've never explored those because they're too large. So they don't know what's in there. And they think she got lost in there. She couldn't get back out. And she drowned inside that cave. Now, that is where I say, fuck that. I know life is dangerous. I know there's dangerous things that can happen to you. But the worst way to die is by fire. The second worst way to die is drowning. I never want to drown in my life. Fuck that. I can't think of a worse way to go. The Dutch, I agree with you. Cannibals Inside? What movie was that? Go cave diving? I'm kind of interested. Elodie, you can, but you'd need a lot of training. I don't think they'll just allow you to go in. Feel like getting eaten alive would be the worst death. Kyle, I don't know. Drowning is bad, dude. Because remember, you're in the water. At some point, the oxygen runs out if you have a tank with you. Then the only way for you to die is to take a massive gulp of water down the gullet into the fucking lungs. I mean, literally die from that. Now, it is a quick death, but it's not a fun death. I'm scared of space, not as much as ocean, though. Space, I'm not scared of space. I get a very eerie feeling. Have you ever watched Sinroth? Have you ever watched The Expanse? Yeah, Samurai. If I could choose how to die, freezing would be my number one. I think freezing would probably be the best way to die. Suffocating would probably... I'm not talking about suffocating as in someone covers your mouth and nose. That's also terrible. I'm talking about sort of being, say, locked inside an airtight container and the air just slowly... That would be probably the second best way to die. Because if you're locked inside... I always thought the worst way to die would be to be buried alive, right? I always thought that. I was always like, dude, I desperately do not want to be buried alive. And then I spoke to my dad, and my dad literally said, why would you be scared of this? I was like, dude, why would you not be scared of it? And he said, you'll pass out. You won't even know that you're dying. Because as the oxygen content of the air gets too low, you'll eventually just drift off. You'll fall asleep, and then you'll just eventually stop breathing. And then for freezing, they actually say that you experience euphoria when you freeze. So why not, you know? My choice would be overdosing on laughing gas. Lauren, I don't know. Like, maybe that could be good as well. Although laughing too much is also not fun. Drowning in gasoline or dish soap would be the worst way to go. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Brain cells dying. Fire me off on a cannon. Panic sets in. Use more oxygen in a small space. Die even faster. Yeah, you're taking yourself out in the process. I would be okay with that. I would be fine with that. As long as I don't drown, I'm perfectly happy with everything else. Yeah, okay. Being eaten slowly by a bear would also be a shit way to go. Of course, that would also be terrible to go. But I don't know. Like, when would I ever be caught by a bear and eaten alive? Most animals kill their prey because they don't want their prey to escape. So at least when it comes to animals, most of them will kill you first. Gamer, how you doing, sir? Your theory paints Titans as evil, and I think Amanthul is just following his nature because his logic says it's right. The forces are meant to oppose. No, Straswild, not evil. Because again, evil infers a specific evil presupposes a specific intent, right? Intent, that's the one. So when you say the Titans are evil, you're presupposing that what the Titans wish to do is evil. Which, sure, if you already presuppose evil, then whatever they do is going to be evil. Even if what they do is actually not that bad, it's still evil because they're evil. But they could be doing what they're doing that is evil from our perspective. So we presuppose evil because we want to do something else instead. But because what they want to do... So let's say, for example, that there is a giant cosmic war going on. Not even the cosmological forces fighting each other. A war even larger than that war, right? So there's these giant cosmological beings that's fighting each other. And they need soldiers in order to fight this very evil thing that is trying to conquer them. Then all of a sudden, what Amanthul and the Titans are trying to do is perfectly noble. And they can't really spend time worrying about us because they're desperately trying to keep everyone alive, right? At least they're trying to save the universe against a very big bad guy on the other side, right? That might want to consume everything. So it could be we're looking at the Titans thinking, well, there was this brilliant animation that I saw the other day where the guy is on top of the guy is on top of a rock and he's holding his girlfriend's hand and his girlfriend is hanging on the rock. She's holding him. And from his vantage point, he can see that there is a snake trying to bite her, right? But he can't see past her. From her vantage point, she can see that there is a thing trying to eat her. I can't remember what it is, but there's a thing trying to eat her at the bottom. But he can't see it, but he can see the snake trying to bite her. So he knows that if he pulls her up, the snake is going to bite her. She thinks if he lets her go, she's going to drop and she's going to get eaten. She can't see that on top of him is a rock that is starting to crush him, right? So from their own vantage points, the guy thinks, I need to let her go so that she can be safe, so that she doesn't get eaten or doesn't get bitten by the snake. She thinks, how dare you not pull me up? He can't pull her up because he has a rock crushing him. So that's the sort of scenario, right? From their own vantage point. So imagine, for example, there is a giant cosmic war. And this war has an entity that consumes reality. This entity eats all living matter. The Titans are desperately trying to awaken these giant, powerful beings that Azeroth is one of, and use these beings to fight this really evil force. Now, because we don't know of the evil force, we think what the Titans are doing is very, very evil. But the Titans know of this evil force, and they know that if they try to appease us, the evil force wins and they all lose, right? So that's more how you should see it. It's not about good or evil because we don't know the full story yet. We can only decide if something is good or evil once we know the full story. And since we don't know the full story, we're fucked. Geese Runner, how you doing? Bears ready to eat people? All those that do are typically protecting their young. Yeah, and I have no interest in fucking around with young bears, so we're good. We are good. Akalon, I had a theory idea. So lower wild gods are life, nature, spirit, which we would consider good. Can the kraken squid creatures we met in the war within, can they be the equivalent counterpart of lower wild gods, since they like the void and all that jazz? No, I don't think they're on the same level. No, I think the kraken might be something else. They don't appear to be gods, not in that way. They appear to be very powerful, but they don't appear to be gods. Now, I would love to stick around with you guys and shoot the shit for another hour, but tonight I do actually have an engagement. I'm cooking for a bunch of people, so I have to go buy ingredients because I've been busy recording podcasts since 9 o'clock this morning. So I haven't had time yet to go shopping, so I quickly have to go buy ingredients, and then I'm making a beef stew with rice, so I'm gonna have to go do that now. That sounds like War in Heaven, Necron suckling Catan, and the fight old ones. Yeah, pretty much, right? 4 p.m. local, you better get going. And they're like, yeah, I'm going now. I have to start at 5 o'clock, so we don't eat only at 10. Somebody tells me you're a good chef. It's because I'm fat. Never trust the skinny cook, right? That's true. But no, I think I'm a pretty decent chef. I think so. I think I make pretty good food. And I just started working at a restaurant on Saturdays. I say work, I don't get paid for it. I just organized that the chef that owns the restaurant teaches me the skills of cooking because I want to figure out if I want to open my own restaurant or not. So that's why I'm doing it. So I'll be doing that also tomorrow, but I look forward to that. That's going to be super fun. Yeah, once my restaurant is open, you guys are more than welcome to come to South Africa, come hang out in Gordon's Bay, and come eat at my restaurant. And if you can prove that you are a viewer, I'll give you a free meal. Strauss, I may have not yet decided, but I may stream myself making pizza dough tomorrow afternoon, because tomorrow morning I'm at the restaurant learning how to be a chef, and then tomorrow night I have friends coming over, and I'm making homemade pizza for the friends. So tomorrow afternoon, after I come back, I'll be preparing dough for when my friends arrive at 5:00. So I may, if I can figure out how to do it on my mobile phone, because I don't have a laptop and shit. I have a PC, so why would I need a laptop? But if I can figure out and I can get the quality good enough on the mobile phone, I will stream myself making the dough, because I get bored sitting in front of the PC the whole time. But yeah, I'll let you guys know on Discord if that is a go, if that is something that's going to continue. So that will be the first cooking stream we do. Kind of cooking, just preparing dough, but never mind. You have the capital to open a restaurant? Jonah, I'll figure that out. I definitely don't have the capital right now, but I have some of the capital. But I'll figure it out. I know a bunch of people that would be willing to invest, so I'll figure it out. I want to do it, so yeah, why not? You know, yeah, dude, I started my YouTube career on a fuck it, let's go. I didn't have enough subscribers when I quit my full-time job and sold my company. I had, I think, 1,000 subscribers. That was it, right? I was making about $250 a month on YouTube, and I was like, yeah, I think I can swing it. Sell the company. Let's start being a YouTuber. So I'm not one for really planning things. I'm more one for jump in, do it, and then make it work. Whatever you need to do, get it done and get it working. So we'll figure it out when we get there. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate all of you for hanging out, for all the subs and the gifted subs, and for all the new people that subbed. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. It means so much to me. Thank you so much for the support. And for everyone else that just came to hang out, I couldn't do this without you guys because it would be boring to speak to myself. So I really appreciate you as well. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, be good to each other. Be kind to each other. And I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.